Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whether you're watching or listening for the first time or you've been around for a minute. We appreciate you for being here and appreciate the time to check it out. No shortage of things and stuff to talk about this week in arena football land. AF1 news kind of dominated the news cycle this past week with the rumor mill and the team that got added to the league, which we'll touch on a little bit later. IFL, a couple things happened. NAL dropped their schedule, and TAL, we've got some repercussions of the AF1 announcement that we'll kind of talk through as well. But before we get into any of that, we've got a great interview with Destiny Brown. Destiny works for the Quad City Steamwheelers and is the general manager for the team, has been with the team for a little while now and has seen the team grow and has seen the IFL grow. So really got to pick her brain about her time with the team, her time in sports, and what she's really looking forward to this upcoming season. And of course, we talked about the Quad City jerseys and uniforms and our favorites. And I was glad to hear that we aligned on what our favorite jersey was from the past couple of years. So very excited to drop that interview. But before we even get into that, we got to plug some socials. That's right. If you don't already, please make sure you're following us on socials at Off the Wall FB. F as in foot, B as in ball. Again, Off the Wall FB. We are on Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok, all the things and stuff. So go give us a follow in there and join the conversation. It really enjoy when people share their opinions, share their takes. Some of the takes we get on social are out there, and I love it. Really expands the mind, and makes you think a little bit outside the box sometimes. But sometimes we get a little too far outside the box and we got to get back in the box, but it's always fun. So make sure you follow us on there and engage with us and join the conversation. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hello, thank you for being here. Please make sure you're subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Leave a comment of what your favorite Quad City Steamwheelers jersey combination is, and we'll see if it matches up with what Destiny and I aligned on. But yeah, that helps grow the channel and helps get a few more eyeballs on it. And check out some of the past episodes of the Turf Tapes. If you go to the Off the Wall YouTube profile, go to live. All the live streams that we've done, whether it's Turf Tapes, whether it's the Game Time, which we got to do another one of those soon, by the way. We've got a bunch of live streams from the past 9-10 months at this point that we've done here and there with some guests all along the way. Most recent one we had was with the New Mexico Chupacabras, Coach Kyle Moore Brown and GM Tim Smith. So I had the chance to chat with them not too long ago. So check that out. We got tons of content on there. We got some shorts you can check out. But if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're rating the show on whatever platform you're listening from, preferably 5 stars. But hey, do your thing. And share it with a friend that you think would enjoy the craziness that is the borderline soap opera world of arena and indoor football. Never a dull moment. But see you on socials. We'll give us a follow on all there, ratings, likes, all that stuff. Enough of that. Here's the interview with Miss Destiny Brown. All right, on the show this week, we have someone who's carved out quite the career path through indoor football so far. So only getting started. I'm excited to see where they go from here. We have the general manager for the Quad City Steamwheelers and the 2025 John Pettit Person of the Year Award recipient. That's a mouthful. It is Destiny Brown. Destiny, thank you so much for hopping on here. How have things been for you in this offseason so far?
Yeah, absolutely excited to be a part of this, and off season's been great for us. We've obviously been revving everything up for 2026. Lots of conversations are happening, trying to get sponsors back, players back, and obviously making sure we're keeping the fans happy in the off season as well. So a lot of movement, but hopefully we blink and March will be right around the corner. So
yeah, it seems like, especially in your world, the off season is the regular season, and the regular season's more like the off season for you. Do you feel that?
I'd say that front office staff probably don't really get an off season, just a different taste of what the game involves. So obviously,
Right.
the hardest part of the season is definitely going out there and acquiring those partnerships and locking all the season ticket holders back in and finding new businesses to partner up with as well. And just the waiting, right? The waiting game of getting everybody back here. It's really the grind of setting everything up so that the guys can even step out on that field and report for camp and fight for their spot. So But obviously, when we're in season, we're working hard to make sure that all those activations get into play, and we're keeping people happy, and obviously executing our side of the business to
Right.
ensure that everybody, has a great experience.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot more than I think anybody may realize. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. But I had a chance to meet you at the IFL title game, and you were on my list of people I wanted to reach out to and have on the show at some point. So that just solidified it, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. So glad we can make this work, and glad we can talk shop about your journey so far, and let's dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about your journey through sports and how you got your start in this weird world of indoor football.
Yeah, always been a diehard sports fan, and played sports all the way through college. But obviously getting introduced to the indoor world didn't happen for me honestly until 2018 when the Steamwheelers announced their return to the Quad Cities. I knew that I had wanted and had aspirations to get to the NFL someday and be working in one of those front offices. But the opportunity to take on football at this level and in my hometown just intrigued me. So I made
Right.
my way to a sports marketing event here in the Quad Cities and was able to interact with Doug Bland, who is obviously the owner of the Steamwheelers, and put myself out there. And luckily enough, had the chance to secure an internship opportunity, and I haven't been able to walk away from the game since. I've just fallen in love with the sport all around, and quite frankly, I'm pretty happy at this level getting to do what we do for the communities, especially obviously being able to do it in the one that I grew up in. So it's a really special game to be a part of. And I think the fact that we get to interact with our fans and our partners in such a intimate way, obviously with the post game autograph sessions and things of that nature, it's such a
Yeah.
unique game to be a part of, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's so awesome that you get that hometown experience. You've been with the team for so long now. It's like sometimes you see a player gets to go play for their hometown, but you've had the chance to be in a variety of different roles for your hometown sports team, like you said. How awesome has that been, and to be able to really see this thing grow out, and like I said, it's in your backyard. That's gotta be so cool.
Yeah, it's very special. I mean, when Doug made that announcement in 2018, and when he signed Coach Ross to be a part of it, I just thought, hey, I'm going to step in. I'm going to get to be a really unique piece of this puzzle, and I don't know what's next. But obviously, with the offer to be a part of the full time staff in 2019 and to work my way through the program while also being able to be a key factor in the change and
Yeah.
the evolution of the franchise. I mean, if people knew what we came from to where we are now, I mean, it's an absolutely insane comparison. And the
Yeah.
really cool part about that is we just keep elevating. Every year there's something new and different. And there's something, that we're bringing to the table that we've never done before. Just this past season, being able to bring two home playoff games to the Quad Cities. I mean, that was, years in the making. It had been an extremely long time since anybody in the Quad Cities saw a home playoff game for Steamwheelers football. So, like I said, just continued elevation is key here, and we're going to always try to raise the bar. So, I think just being able to be a part of a brand that pushes that narrative and always finds a way is, again, what makes it so special about being right here in my backyard. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I can hear how fired up you are about it, just speaking about it right there. So it's awesome to see folks like that in positions like yours. One thing that has tripped me up about Quad Cities though is seeing Quad City the name and then hearing people say Quad Cities, like plural versus
yeah.
singular. As someone not from there, I'm like, this is driving me insane. Like, why are Ron and Redrick clearly saying Quad Cities, but the team name is Quad City? Like that I don't know why that
So,
tripped me up for as long as it did.
no, and it makes perfect sense. So we are considered the Quad Cities because it's the four cities, and actually there's more cities than just four, but
Right.
the main ones that get represented in that. But we are the Quad City Steamwheelers, and I know it always tricks me up too because I see like on the IFL page and stuff. Sometimes they even do it with the Quad Cities, and I'm like,
Yes.
City,
Yeah.
Quad City Steamwheelers. But at the end of the day, too, I mean, even people trying to figure out where we're even located is
Yeah,
is the
right.
bigger puzzle of it all. You just say halfway between we're 3 hours from Chicago and we're 3 hours from Des Moines, and people go, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are the Quad City Steamwheelers, but we
Yeah.
give some people a pass when they say the Quad City, especially when you're from here or from the local
Right.
area. It's so common to refer to us as the Quad Cities. So I think that might
Yeah.
just be like a slip up when they're in the booth, but yeah. That's my best
Yeah.
storyline on that.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, it's like just look at the border of Illinois and Iowa. It's right there. Somewhere
Yeah.
there. It's right
Yep.
there. Right there.
Just draw the dot right there.
Yeah. So what does a general manager do? I think people have a vision of what it is, and like they may see like, oh, in the movies they do this, but like how does that role operate with an indoor football team?
So I think that's a great question. And honestly, I think it just depends on what franchise you're talking to in specific, because there are teams that would operate as an NFL team would. And I would like to think that a majority of the teams in the IFL operate in a very unique way, in the sense that we have a say in player personnel
Mhm.
scenarios, but our main goal is to oversee the business of the indoor football, team that you're representing. So you're going out, like I mentioned earlier, you're acquiring those partnerships. You're activating those season tickets. You're trying to get all the pieces to the puzzle that the fans and the partners don't necessarily see behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And you're trying to execute those to the best of your abilities to make sure that everything flows right once the time comes that the guys report, and you're, like I said earlier, activating those engagements. So I would say that yes, there is the fun part of talking to, like, for me personally, talking to Coach Ross. He says, "Oh, I'm interested in this guy," or maybe we get an email through the front office and it's saying, "Hey, I'm interested in coming to play for your franchise." And there's some conversational pieces, but I like to consider myself the research portion of the,
Okay.
acquiring the player, because I'm the one that goes out and says, "Okay, this guy looks great on film, but who is he as a person? How does he represent himself? Is he going to be a good contributing community player to this franchise? Is he going to be good to his teammates?" It's not just all about their skill level, but who they are at their core, and if they're going to be a good fit for our franchise. So, that's another big piece of the puzzle in the off season and building the perfect team. Because again, you can have a ton of talent around you, but it matters who these people are and how they're going to stand together in the face of adversity. So,
Yeah.
again, it's a whole lot of putting all the pieces together, from how we are able to even get a team here to represent us on the field. So many moving parts that go
Yeah.
into the job. And if you talk to any of the general managers around the league, they're going to tell you they wear 101 hats, and it takes an awesome team. A lot of us are small but mighty, and we have a lot of great resources around us and people that care and are just about as passionate as we are about the success of our franchises. And I think that that's the perfect concoction, in, I guess, the shortest way I can put it out there, of
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
a day to day might look like. So,
Yeah, it seems like it comes in seasons. Like, all right, coming up, you might have player signing season where your focus for 2 months is that, but then as soon as the new year hits, it's that, partnership activation, all that stuff. So yeah, it just seems like
yep.
so many different hats you're wearing, and yeah, I applaud anybody that's in that role for what they have to put up with, because I'm sure it's a lot more hectic than people realize.
Yeah, definitely a an interesting role, and a lifestyle dynamic that you have to be able to put yourself in the position, but it's very like rewarding in the
Yeah,
long term, and seeing it all come to fruition makes it all worth it in the end, and seeing all those smiling faces in the stands,
yeah,
and the players getting to live out their dreams on the field. I mean, it makes it all worth it.
yeah. I mean, so if you could tell 2018 Destiny something you know now that would help a younger version of you kind of get started and get going, what would be some career advice you would give yourself back then?
Definitely to know I belong in every space I walk into, just because of the confidence that I've acquired in my roles and as I've made my way up. I think starting off early in my career, the industry has changed so much since I was getting my start. And it was
Mhm.
definitely a lot more male dominated in that time. And that could be really intimidating as I'm trying to, make my way into an industry, and I guess solidify myself as someone who belongs in a certain space. I think a confidence to myself has definitely grown over the years. But I would definitely say just know that you belong in every space you walk into, and let your game speak for you. And
Yeah.
with that, just knowing obviously that who you are is going to represent yourself very well. So just be you. I'd also say prepare for those long nights and those early mornings,
Yeah.
because, you got to be built different to be a part of this. And it's funny saying that because that was one of our slogans, even one of our seasons. And Coach Ross has kind of been a huge mentor, to me through this game, especially with the experience that he's had. And, a lot of people don't know certain things about him and the role that he has played heavily on like the sales side of things, early on in the beginning of the Steamwheelers days. So I would just say again, before I get too long winded, that just be confident in who you are and what you know,
Yeah.
and also never be too nervous to go out and accomplish a goal that you have in mind. Like don't get scared, don't get caught up in the what ifs. Just be be unafraid to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your goal is scaring you, it's probably a good goal. Like you should probably go after that.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were involved with the organization when COVID hit, and that just seems like it was an absolute nightmare to weather that storm. And when you look back on that time, like what are some things you remember most, and maybe some things you carry with you to this day, like in your day to day that you do with the Steamrollers now?
Honestly, when COVID hit, we all know that was a very scary time. And getting the news that the franchise wasn't going to be able to operate for that, we had one game that season, and then everything shut off. And then 2021, we were unable to play, as well. And so I honestly think that that was a defining year in my career because of the fact that I had the opportunity to go out to Bismarck and work for the Bismarck Bucks.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know this, but I was still overseeing the Quad City Steamwheelers while in Bismarck, North Dakota. So I was
Wow.
working for as the assistant general manager of the Bismarck Bucks, but I was still answering calls, emails, interacting with season ticket holders, all for another franchise from about
Wow.
13 hours away. So I think that that was such an instrumental, learning curve for me, not only obviously to go into another market, and operate under the terms that, COVID brought with fans and buildings and being able to, run a successful season while also maintaining a franchise behind closed doors almost. And,
Yeah. No
and,
kidding.
I think that that just was an instrumental part of my growth. Not only getting to go and learn in another market, but also balance of two schedules and living, in a way that was, tested my toughness mentally, emotionally, physically, all the way around. And I think that was the biggest opportunity for me to grow in my career, not only away from home, doing something in a community, that I had never been a part of before, especially because it was just so different than what I'm used to here in the Quad Cities.
Right.
Um, but yeah, overall, just a crazy experience, that was unfortunate to, what was going on in the world, but super effective in the way that it impacted my growth, and like just taking on a learning curve, in a space that, I had the opportunity to do something that, I never would have thought I would. So yeah.
Yeah. So going from juggling two franchises to just juggling one, that had to be a little bit of a relief. Like, all right, I'm only doing one job now. Like, all right, cool. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then again, bringing back a franchise from dormancy is,
Right. Yeah.
uh, a task of its own. I mean, that was crazy because we went from having 2020 start, so we had to activate all those partnerships and uphold those relationships for the 2 years that we were gone, and then try to tack on new partnerships going into the 2022 season and manage
Wow.
those all under the same helm. So it was an extremely unique scenario. Um, but again, like I said, we adapted and overcame. That was a very successful year for us. We were named franchise of the year that year, and we were able to make it to the championship game.
Right.
So I think it just paid off in dividends, like how effective that hard work, and all those efforts that went into everything that we were building from afar were. So
Yeah, it definitely showed. And you mentioned Coach Ross. You've been with Coach Ross arm in arm for a very long time now. What's it like being able to work with him and being able to accomplish some of the things that you've been able to accomplish as a unit?
the first word that comes to my mind is just special. It's a very special bond that we've been able to create. It's always funny because back in 2018, I think Coach Ross and I probably exchanged um, on a handful of conversations. Like I could count them on my hands how much him and I interacted in
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so to come in just because he is such a busy guy, and he had so much on his plate starting up the franchise and putting together a team that could compete on the field. But no, I think my efforts were seen on his side, and I would say he took me under his wing really when I had the opportunity to step in 2019 and take a role full time. He just really wanted to see me grow. I think he saw the potential in me that Doug saw. And he had a whole nother aspect of the game, obviously, with his experience in the NFL,
Yeah.
being, a member of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, his leadership out there on the field. That's the side of Cory that most people don't see. But obviously working so closely with him over the years, like I said, I've looked at him as a mentor of the game, and obviously just in life because of the knowledge of everything that he's experienced and the trials and tribulations that he's faced, as a coach and just as a person. So I think, like I said, it's a very unique relationship that him and I have been able to build over the years. There's a lot of trust that goes into obviously building a team together and putting the best product out on the field. But I'm super confident every season, and obviously that's a big part of what keeps me in this space is having a head
Right.
coach of his caliber who locks in and leads by example.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good partner to have, given everything that he's been able to do, and it makes it very easy that been pretty successful on the field, especially over these last few years. But you've partnered with Cory Ross now over not only Cory Ross over the past few years, but you've been involved with the IFL for just as long. What are some of the biggest areas of growth that you've seen with the league since you've been in the mix, and what excites you the most about the future of it?
I would say the growth and the expansion of franchises is one thing that really gets me pumped up. At the end of the day, I think one of the hardest things to do is continue to put on, uh, you know, franchises that compete every single year. There's so much fluidity across the league. You never know who you're going to see in that championship. I think that
Right.
that's a really neat thing that adds to what we offer, but also being the land or the longest standing league of professional indoor football in general, and being able to put together so many franchises that can be so competitive year after year after year. I
Hmm.
think Todd does a great job, setting the tone each season. And again, like I said, just forward expansion. I want to continue to see more of that. And I would love to see teams, continue to stick around year after year after year. And I think you're going to continue to see that growth. But also just partnerships, what we're bringing to the table as far as like championship games, the expansion of those. And I know that they did a really good job this season putting together like the tailgate and stuff for the championship, and just those fan interactive pieces that make us stand out and continue to put a stamp on this level of football. So again, I know that the future and the future, the sky's the limit. But also with that being said, I think one of the coolest things that I've seen too is I went from being in the CIF in 2018. So obviously seeing the change of league. And then
Yeah.
again, like I said, just like the Steamwheelers, we continue to elevate each year. I see that within our league, and I'm just excited to see where it goes. And that's why I continue to invest, my career in this league.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's been growing, like, just like it kind of is a parallel to your career, the way like you've gone from like intern to assistant GM to GM, and it's like both things are kind of going on the same trajectory. So it's exciting to see where it's going. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool things on the horizon for the IFL. I'm excited to see them take shape, and I'm sure we'll get some announcements here over the next couple of months on some cool things. But um, I want to talk uniforms. Quad City has some of the best uniforms in all of indoor and arena football. It's a fact. You can't argue it. What does that look like in-house when developing the ideas and the combinations for the season? What does it look like from your end?
yeah, so obviously when we start off our season, a big piece of putting it all together is our theme nights and what we're going to do to, engage with certain, different groups around our community and get people excited to tap into football. Even those ones that maybe don't usually go to a football game or maybe aren't the
Yeah,
biggest fan. We always try to make, each element of our game day exciting to anybody that walks in the building. So a big part of obviously those theme nights is those custom jerseys, as well as
yeah,
obviously the league sanctioned Adidas uniforms, which was really fun to get creative with. And
right.
Dustin Eichten, he is an absolute all star here in our front office, and he just goes to the drawing board and puts together some of the coolest concepts in the world. We'll sit and we'll brainstorm, and he just brings everything to life in unimaginable ways. But the John Deere jerseys have definitely been one of our
Yeah,
fan favorites around the local community. Obviously, having John Deere headquarters right here, everybody gets really hyped up about those.
yeah,
And this year we took a different approach, and we've always done the John Deere green. And he's like, Destiny, what do you think if we go black this year? And I'm like, what about
yeah,
military? And he's like, well, we don't have red uniforms this year, so we could go that
yep,
direction.
yeah,
And then we came up with the concept of halfway to Halloween this year, and we did that for the
yeah,
first time. And those are probably by far my favorite custom uniforms that we've ever developed. Those ones were really unique. And again, our community got behind that night so much. We built a haunted house in our conference center. It was absolutely insane. And again, like I said,
yeah,
speaking on that, just trying to find different ways to get people excited about the game, even if they maybe not aren't the most interested in football, getting them out here so they know that like this isn't your traditional game. Like this is very fast paced, exciting, high flying, high octane. Like you're gonna get locked in. We just need you to get through the door. So
yeah, yeah,
but the concepts that we come up with, I mean, it's really just a brainstorm session between Dustin, myself. Coach Ross also likes to get involved, obviously,
of course.
and give his feedback as well. But I gotta give the credit to Dustin Eichten. He absolutely kills it every time, and he brings every concept to life, and our fans can't get enough of him. So I love it.
Yeah, shout out to Dustin, and I gotta say those halfway to Halloween jerseys were so awesome. I as soon as I saw them, I'm like, all right, these are cool. And then like the glow in the dark elements, and then the custom names on the back, and then like you said, the when tuning into the game, Ron and Redrick talking about the haunted house and showing the characters kind of walking around the entire arena. I'm like, this is incredible. Like they totally leaned into it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
everyone take note. Like this is how you lean into a bit. Like this was so good.
Yeah, we're pumped, and I'm happy to announce, I guess here first, that Halfway
Oh,
Halloween will be making its return in 2026. So
let's go.
bigger and better. So
That's so awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Dustin cooks up for that one, because those jerseys were so neat, and just a very cool idea. Like, did you guys like see the date on the calendar and kind of come up with it there, or how did that idea come to be?
I've been trying to get our owner Doug Bland to allow me to do that concept for probably about 2-3 seasons now.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So finally going into 2025, I said I was putting together the promotional schedule with James Macklin, our director of game ops, and I was like, we got to do this. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm tired of like asking to make this happen. And I still
Yeah.
respectfully did just
Of,
that. But
of
I
course.
messaged Doug and he said, hey, he's like, I trust you. Just go for it. And I think,
Right.
like I said, it paid off. We probably had our highest jersey sales in franchise history that night too. So
Yeah.
it did what we thought it would do. And like I said, I'm just pumped to continue to grow off it now that we've seen the success. So
Yeah, I remember watching the playoff games. Every crowd shot, there was at least 3 or 4 of those jerseys. Every single shot, and I'm like, "There it is.
yep.
The people have spoken."
Yeah.
And, like, we're coming up on Halloween now, so I'm sure you'll get some tags on social from people wearing it at their Halloween parties and everything. So it's like, "All right, we're making indoor football year round here. Let's go."
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And
Yeah.
we're actually gonna, for a limited time, open those jerseys back up leading into the month of October for fans to customize to their own nameplate on there, their own number. So we're really pumped to
Yeah.
get that information out there for them to be able to do that too. So
Sweet. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to see what some of the folks in the Quad Cities cook up with those. But I mentioned at the top when I introduced you the John Pettit Person of the Year Award. Congrats again on that. For those that don't know, here's a brief description of it. It says each season, the John Pettit Person of the Year Award will be awarded by the IFL to the individual who shows dedication and exemplary service to their team as well as their community. Now, awards are probably not the reason why you do what you do, but what did it mean to you to be recognized like that for the hard work that you have been putting in, not just this year, but every year leading up to this?
in this game, there are very few names that I feel shake you to your core of like impact that they've
Mhm.
had on this game. And to know that, you know, like with all the amazing representatives that this league has to offer and everybody that puts their heart and soul into this league, to know that, peers of mine thought that highly of me and looked at the dedication that I put into what I do every single day, to recognize me for that. I still, it's hard for me to find words for it just because it's such a special award. Um, and to know the history of John and everything that he put into this game and the legacy that he's left. I don't think that there's a more impactful award that I could have received that would move me in the way that this has. So again, just to be in the same category um, of him it still leaves me in disbelief. So I
Yeah.
feel honored like I said, to know that my peers would think of me in that way, and it just I guess encourages me to continue to go even harder to change the game and play my part in making an impact, even if it's an inkling of what he was able to do in his time.
Right. Yeah, and it seems like the Midwest just has a stranglehold on this award. Like it has not left the Quad City, Green Bay, Iowa triangle. Like is there something about the Midwest hospitality, the Midwest mindset? Like what is it that keeps it there?
I just think I think that everybody in this league has people in their franchise that works their tail off.
Yeah.
Um, but there's something about these Midwest teams I feel like that just goes an inch closer to personal within their fan bases. And like I said, I would take no discredit to the Western Conference. I just think there's that whole Midwest nice and the way that we lock in.
Yeah.
And also like, just I feel like the niche in which that we've created in the Eastern Conference shows, how dedicated we are to our product. And again, like I said, that's nothing to the Western Conference, but I know how hard each individual has worked that has earned that title. Personally, just because I work alongside of each of them in my own capacity as we're visiting to those different teams, and I've witnessed the hospitality of Green Bay and the way that they treat their fans and the way that they lock in. Obviously, same thing in Iowa with Julie being the first recipient. The way that she gives to her franchise and the efforts that she puts in. I mean, like I said, not only being in the same category as John, but Julie, Kathy, Doug. It's just a really, really special thing. And I can't wait to see, everybody continue to do their thing next year and watch that award go to the next deserving person. Because like I said, we have so many people in this league that work their tail off day in and day out to make this thing happen. So
Yeah. So here's the headline: Quad City GM calls out Western Conference. There you
oh
go.
yeah, they're
There it
coming
is.
for me.
We're
I
we're
already
we're
know
gonna
when
run
they
away with
post
that.
this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hear from a few of them. No,
Yeah.
everybody's great. Like I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take it to the voting polls. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you summed it up best. The Midwest nice.
Yeah.
Something about that Midwest nice. There's just
Hmm.
something there. What's next for Quad City? I know we were probably on the verge of a ton of stuff getting announced, not just with the team, but with the league and everything over the next couple months. What's coming down the pike here?
A lot of exciting new activations, I'll say, going into 2026 for us. There's only so much that I can share so early
Right.
on.
Right.
But I would say just looking in as a fan, within the Quad Cities community and beyond, there's going to be a lot more excitement built just alone off of how we ended things last year. And
Mhm.
again, it's so cliche in a way to say unfinished business, but I think the energy has maintained even through this first month of off season, and I think that's just going to continue to grow and kind of continue to push forward into the
Yeah.
excitement of what we're looking to do in 2026. And like I said, I think fans are going to be very happy over the next several months as we kind of drop little pieces of the puzzle that's going to obviously complete it all to get us to March. So
Right. Yeah. Well, at the time of recording this, I just had to double check it. Daquan Neal got announced as coming back. Do we anticipate a few more folks from 2025 coming back for 26?
yeah, I'm excited to say that you'll see a mix of new faces as well as some familiar faces, and maybe that's not just familiar faces from 2025, but maybe somebody who's been here
Hmm.
before. So
Okay.
excited to see, like I said, see the team continue to get built, work along Coach Ross and our staff to build the perfect roster to bring into camp and watch those guys fight for their spots. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it all take shape. And yeah, it seems like Quad City's a well-run machine up there with everyone they got behind the scenes. So kudos to you guys for the work you guys put into to everything you do. And it's definitely one of the best franchises in all of indoor and arena football, not just the IFL. So this has been a ton of fun. Really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here and kind of talk shop. Um, any parting words for fans before we get out of here?
Well, I'm happy to see Neil back, as you know. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just excited to build on the momentum of what's already kind of carrying over from 2025. And I know we're going to do everything we can, obviously, to give our best shot at a run at a championship next season. And like I
Yeah.
said, just stay tuned in for updates as the season starts to creep up, and uh, just appreciate all the support and love from this community and beyond.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again. I'm sure we'll be in touch as we inch closer to the season, and maybe I'll be able to make my way up to the Quad Cities, plural Quad Cities, to catch a game. I don't know. We'll see how the schedule works out.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you.
All right. Thank you so much, Destiny. We'll talk soon. Massive thank you again to Destiny for joining the program and talking about her journey through the sports world and working in this weird and wonderful world of indoor football, and touching on the things she's learned along the way. And it's pretty cool that she was there basically since the beginning of when the Quad City Steamwheelers got relaunched and going through COVID and all of that stuff, and to see where the team is at now, thanks in part to a lot of the hard work that she and a bunch of others in that front office do, is really, really cool to see. So you heard some of the announcements that are coming down the pike. Very excited. Go get a halfway to Halloween jersey if you don't already. They're going to be posting a few more of those very soon, if not already by the time this comes out. absolutely in October. When it's not just halfway to Halloween, it's practically Halloween at that point. But yeah, massive shout out to Destiny, and give her a follow, and give the Quad City Steamwheelers a follow, and let them know you heard them on Off the Wall. But diving right into IFL news, it was a pretty quiet week in the IFL world. The news cycle was kind of dominated by a couple other leagues, but there were some things that happened transaction wise that we can touch on. Tulsa Oilers signed defensive lineman Ulrich Jones and wide receiver Mike Kerrigan. So a couple of veterans of the indoor and arena game signed with the Tulsa Oilers. They already got Claude Davis on that defensive line. They got Ulrich Jones on that defensive line now. They got Mike Kerrigan coming over from the championship run with Vegas, and he's been around the indoor game for a while now. With only so many veteran slots, it's interesting to see how teams utilize those slots and really lean into how they're building out their roster. And it seems like Tulsa is set on having some of those veteran guys on the defensive line, with both Claude Davis and Ulrich Jones being down there now. But still very early in the cycle. I would expect to see a lot more signings here, especially in Tulsa, who has done a pretty decent job of filling out their roster so far. And we'll see how that offense continues to build out. But going back to Quad City did announce the signings of quarterback Daquan Neal and offensive lineman Joe Kroll, which is very exciting. A couple of centerpieces for that offense, Joe Kroll on that offensive line, and being the focal point of that offensive line, being the tip of the spear for them. And then Daquan Neal just being an absolute playmaker. Really was a difference maker for this Quad City team from 2024 to 2025. 2024, they were a quarterback away from just being a very, very tough team to take out. But it's one of those things where if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. And that describes the situation pretty well for that 2024 team. And you drop Daquan Neal in at quarterback for the 2025 team. And this team was unbelievable. Very, very fun. They were a wagon at times through the season, and got into a shootout with Green Bay in the Eastern Conference Finals. Or Eastern Conference Championship, rather, and they were very close to making it happen and getting to that IFL national title game. But they're going to be very competitive again, especially with some of the signings that were posted but not necessarily announced. So, Destiny, I'm sorry if you get mad at me announcing this on here, but according to the IFL Transaction Wire, the yet to be announced signings are in the secondary, and it's defensive back Malik Duncan coming back for another season with the Steamwheelers, friend of the program. And then Darian Jackson, he played with the Steamwheelers a few years back. Seems like he had a little bit of a gap year in 2025, and played with the Steamwheelers a few years back, and he seems to be back. He signed with the team, so that'll be a cool little homecoming for him. And interested to see if he can pick up where he left off, because he was a very talented defensive back when he was playing with the Steamwheelers. And the Steamwheelers team is bringing back some really, really productive playmakers on both sides of the ball. So it's looking like they're gearing up for another really good run with Coach Cory Ross at the helm yet again. And then going over to the Western Conference, we got Tucson. Tucson promoted defensive coordinator Rashawn Kaiser to head coach. So Billy Back was the head coach the past couple of seasons. He left. He went and became the offensive coordinator for the Tulsa Oilers. Kaiser has been there as the defensive coordinator for a little bit now. And the Tucson defense was really, really good. They kept them in a lot more games than they deserved to be in over the past couple of seasons. I think at one point, the under for Tucson games from 2024 heading into 2025, I think it cashed like 16 out of 17 times, or like 13 out of 14 times. Just an absurd number, because that defense played so well while that offense was trying to figure things out. And this past season, the offense kind of figured things out, but they just put themselves in a hole way too early in the season to be able to dig themselves out of it. So new look for Tucson with Rashawn Kaiser at the head coaching position. And you would expect that defense to be, up to the level that it has been over the past couple of years. We'll just have to see what they do on offense, and do they bring in an offensive coordinator? Do they bring in somebody who's been around the game for a little while to call the shots there? We don't know. We'll have to see what happens and how they continue to build that roster out. But the final thing we're going to touch on with the IFL is the rumor mill has been a buzz with Massachusetts Pirates talk for the past, it seems like, 3 months at this point. Like even in the playoffs, even at the IFL National Championship game, that's what a lot of fans were talking about when they were trying to pry some information out of the commissioner, try to pry some information out of other people that were there. It's been heavily alluded to, and it seems like the Massachusetts Pirates are moving to Central Florida, moving to Orlando. Hasn't been officially announced. It seems like it's happening, and then it's not, but then it's happening again, but then it's not. All signs are indicating that it's back to happening at this point. We're just waiting on an official announcement, and it lines up well with the vision that Commissioner Tryon mentioned when we had him on the program. I think that was like 10 episodes back at this point. But when we had him on the program, and he talked about building out the Southeast. Well, Jacksonville was in the Southeast on an island. Massachusetts was in the Northeast on an island. Massachusetts moves down to Florida. Suddenly, the Southeast, that's a very regional rivalry from Orlando to Jacksonville, one that arena football fans, especially Jacksonville Shark fans, are very familiar with from the 2010s when the Jacksonville Sharks and the Orlando Predators were duking it out for 6-7 years, and Jacksonville was getting the best of the Predators more often than not. So it seems like Massachusetts is moving down there. It's not official yet. Haven't received any inside intel that says it's happening for sure, but it just seems like the way things are shaping up. And when you look at what they're doing with the Pirates Hall of Fame, big social media push for the Mass Pirates right now, if you notice, it's the Pirates Hall of Fame. It's not the Massachusetts Pirates Hall of Fame. So it's little stuff like that. Plus, usually where there's smoke, there's fire with these types of things. So it seems like that's the direction it's headed. It's only a matter of time of when it gets announced and where do the Massachusetts Pirates play. Because the Orlando Predators played at the Kia Center, which is just a massive facility, 20,000 seater. The estimate I heard from talking with some people was that to rent it out for a game was like $50,000. And that adds up quickly when you have 6-7 home games. And for the Predators in particular, they were trying to charge $70-$80 a ticket just to get in the door. It was just absurd. And it's not surprised to see why they're not really around anymore. So for what does that mean for the Pirates? Do we see them do the same thing? Do we see them attempt to play at the Kia Center and try to do a better job marketing and getting in the community and getting people out there? There's other arena options that aren't as sexy as the Kia Center, but there are other options in the Orlando area where they could play. The UCF Arena over in East Orlando. It's not the biggest arena, but they've played arena football there in the past. The Predators played there I think in like 2017, 18. No, maybe it was 16. It was one of those years. They played at the UCF Arena for a little bit. But then there's some arenas in Kissimmee. There's some arenas in some of the more suburby parts of Orlando where it could work, and it would be a hell of a lot cheaper than the Kia Center. So again, it's all up in the air. We'll have to see what happens at this point. But that's what it's looking like for the Massachusetts Pirates, and there's still a small chance they could remain in Massachusetts at the rate we're going, just based on how it's flip-flopped and all over the place. But it's looking like Orlando's going to have a new team very, very soon. We're going to pivot over to the AF1 now, and in the biggest news of the week, possibly of the month, possibly of the offseason so far, it is the Minnesota Monsters, formerly known as the Duluth Harbor Monsters, jumping ship to the AF1 from the TAL. So Duluth, if you're not up to speed with the TAL or haven't really paid too much attention to it, Duluth ran that league for the first couple of years. They were just absolutely dominant. They won the Arena Mania Championship, Arena Mania 1 and Arena Mania 2 in dominant fashion. A couple teams caught them slipping a little bit in this 2025 season, but they just went on a run, and they were just able to overpower so many other teams in TAL on their way to repeating as champion. But for the AF1, this was the league unofficially at 9 teams. On their website, they still have 8 teams listed, plus Minnesota would be 9. But realistically, that number is closer to 7 at this point, just because there's uncertainty with Corpus Christi, who's probably dead. And then there's uncertainty with Billings, who's not dead, but not showing any signs of life. either. So realistically, they're looking at 7 teams right now. With Michigan, that would put them at 8. There's some talk that some other teams may come into the fold, and some markets and some states that may surprise you. So realistically, it's looking like the floor for the number of teams is 8. So they ended last season with 8. They're starting this season with 8. A little bit of a shuffled deck of who that 8 is, but at the very least, it's looking like they'll hit 8, potentially 10, based on how some things might shake out. But for this Minnesota Monsters team, it's looking like they're going to bring a lot of talent from the past couple years, championship rosters from TAL with them, and it sounds like they're throwing some money around at some other free agents. I guess everyone's a free agent with 1-year contracts, but other folks that are very talented from other leagues to come over and play with them in AF1. So they're going to build quite a roster, but right now, just it's very early. The transition from TAL to AF1 rules wise, roster wise, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I think they're going to be a competitive team. I don't expect them to come in and dominate like they were able to do in TAL for as long as they did. You've got teams like Albany, who is going to be very talented and have a very good roster. You got a team like Nashville, who arguably has the best roster in arena football right now. You've got Kentucky, an upstart team with a veteran coach bringing over a core of players that had success in Billings. You've got all these different teams in AF1 that have played the arena football game, and TAL is more of a 7-on-7 meets arena football. So it's still fun, still chaotic, still gives you that arena football feel with team. It seems like at least 3 or 4 catches over the wall every single game, which is what people want to see. It's the best. But in TAL, in case you didn't know, there's no kicking, there's no kickers, which means there's no uprights, there's no rebound nets. They have basically a center, like a offensive lineman that snaps the ball. They don't really have sets, so to speak. And it's gonna be a little bit of a transition, I think, for this Minnesota team, where part of the success that they had this past season was that they had a ferocious defensive line that was just feasting on the other teams and really taking advantage of the fact that there was like only one offensive lineman, and they bring out 3 defensive linemen who were just unbelievable. And you have a wide receiver trying to block a natural defensive end. And it was just not ending well for teams. And they were just able to absolutely crush teams at the line of scrimmage and really disrupt these teams before they could get anything going. So I think it'll be a bit of a transition. It might be a bit of a challenge for Coach O'Neill and staff at first, but I do think they will adapt as time goes on and as they figure things out. But it's exciting that you get a championship caliber team, not just coming from TAL, but you get a championship caliber team coming from the NAL as well, where the Beaumont Renegades just won the NAL championship in 2025. So heading into this 2026 season, you've got 3 defending league champions in arena football, all competing under the umbrella of Arena Football 1. And it seems like the trajectory is on the way up for AF1. They just got to get out of their own way and let the product speak for itself and highlight the good. And we'll see what ends up happening with streaming. We'll see what ends up happening with TV deals and all that stuff. All that remains to be seen, as Arena Football U is right around the corner for the league. But it's an exciting time, and this is a massive get for AF1 to be able to get the Duluth Harbor Monsters without it being the Duluth Harbor Monsters and it being the Minnesota Monsters. So logo is set to drop here soon, I would imagine, as this was a very quick turnaround from some conversations I've had. It sounds like that all this came to be in about a week or so, which is just insane to think about the turnaround that they had to get everything approved and get everything across the finish line. And it seems like the Duluth area has really supported this Minnesota Monsters team in the past, and they're going to continue to support it. And this is going to be a very interesting case study, if anything else, of what can happen when a team starts at a smaller league and grows and builds through sponsorship and support locally to get it to a point where they can play in a league like the AF1 and really really play with the best in only their third year of existence. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And like I said, the AF1 is not done yet. They're going to be adding more teams here soon. So we'll see what that looks like. We do have a couple of signings I want to run through as well before we head up to our next league. First one is going to be quarterback Fred Payton Jr. signing with the Albany Firebirds. Fred Payton Jr. played with the Jacksonville Sharks a few years back, and then he played with the Corpus Christi Tritons this past season. And Albany brings in a third quarterback to compete in camp, to compete for a spot on that roster. You've already got Robert McCoy, you've already got Jerome Johnson, and now you've got Fred Payton Jr. in the mix. So 3 solid quarterbacks. You can make a solid case for any combination of 2 to make that roster. Right now, you're probably looking at Jerome Johnson and Robert McCoy being the 2 guys that make it, but that's just assuming having Robert McCoy, that continuity from last season gives him a little bit of a head start, and then Jerome Johnson's just an extremely talented quarterback. Former IFL MVP, helped his team win the IFL National Championship last year. Seems like that's the direction they take, but this quarterback battle in camp is going to be very interesting. And regardless of who wins the battle, regardless of who is on the outside looking in, it feels like all 3 of these players will be involved in the arena game somehow, some way in 2026. All 3 of them probably won't be with the Albany Firebirds, but it should provide a really, really good competition. But then moving over to Kentucky, the Kentucky Barrels signed Tom Butters at wide receiver. Tom Butters is one of my favorite players to watch because he's just so big. I think he's like 6'5", 250, 260, somewhere around there. Just a massive. I might be selling him short at 6'5". He might be 6'6". I'm sure someone will correct me on it. But Tom Butters, he's just a fascinating player. He played with the Oregon Lightning last year, and then he finished the season off. I think he might have played with the Nashville Cats for a cup of coffee, and then he finished the season off with the Ozark Lunkers with Tyler Kolka and gang there. He's a really interesting combination player that can be utilized in a bunch of different ways. For Oregon, when they played, oddly enough, against Nashville, I believe it was Oregon at Nashville, they used him as like a battering ram, basically, on through him in motion, and were able to get him be the high motion man and run him behind the quarterback, snap it, hand it off, and have him plow up the middle with his big frame and establish a little bit of a running game. But then with Ozarks, they were able to like line him up as like that, like a tight end position, like a fake offensive lineman. He'd chip somebody and then go out for a pass, and then like that doesn't even take into account his jump ball ability because he's such a big target. So he's going to be a very interesting wide receiver for Kentucky. Kentucky already signed Shiloh Flanagan from Southwest Kansas last year, so they've got some tall wide receivers in Kentucky, and they're going to continue to build that roster out. And Coach Cedric Walker's got an interesting crew developing there in Kentucky, and I'm interested to see how it ends up solidifying here soon. But then the last thing we're going to touch on is the Washington Wolfpack. So the Washington Wolfpack, one of the biggest gripes with them over the past few years was offensive performance, quarterback play, and offensive line play. If you clean up the offensive line play, the other 2 usually improve as a result. And it seems like the Wolfpack have really taken that to heart. They've already made a number of signings on the offensive line, and then they made another one with Tariq Stewart, who has spent time with a couple CFL teams and has spent time bouncing around a couple arena and indoor teams as well. So he's a big body. I think they listed him at like 6'6", 330, something like that. So Washington's building a very, very big offensive line, and they should have better protection than they did the past few seasons, where it seemed like they just had a turnstile on the offensive line, just letting everybody in that wanted to go through the offensive line and get to the quarterback. But quarterback is still a bit of a question mark for Washington. They made some signings. I think the more notable one is Giovanni Sanders, who played for the Idaho Horsemen last year and has played for a couple different indoor and arena teams over the past couple of seasons. I think they still got to go out and find a an arena football quarterback, somebody that can fit the scheme of being able to effectively throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. And I just don't think they have found that yet. And I'm sure that they'll be able to find somebody that fits that mold. But the offensive line is improving. Don't really see anything at this point that tells me that the quarterback position is improving for them. But if the offensive line improves, the quarterback play has to improve as a result. And if all that comes to be, hopefully Washington's offense will get better than they were last year, because they certainly couldn't get worse. It was just bad for them, but they're doing everything that they can personnel wise to make that change for the better. And hopefully we'll see a more competitive Washington Wolfpack team in 2026. So next league we're going to touch on is TAL, the Arena League. And of course, the Duluth Harbor Monsters coming over, or not coming over, but the Minnesota Monsters, formerly known as the Duluth Harbor Monsters, leaving TAL and jumping over to the AF1. It stings if you're the TAL, because they've been the headlining act for TAL for the past couple seasons. They've been the league champion for the past 2 years, and it's just something where you hate to see the best in your league go elsewhere. But the league still does own the IP for the Duluth Harbor Monsters. It's going to be a very complicated situation between the TAL and the Minnesota Monsters moving forward, but that's why the Minnesota Monsters had to adjust their name, because they legally couldn't take the Duluth Harbor Monsters name with them. But for TAL, what happens? Where do we go from here? Do they try to find somebody to take over ownership of the Duluth Harbor Monsters brand and still compete in TAL? I doubt it. It doesn't seem likely, especially this late in the game and with how fast everything fell into place for this jump to the AF1 to happen. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's a thing that's going to happen, but crazier things have happened in shorter periods of time, like we've seen over the past week or so. But I think that the bigger question for TAL is, where do they grow and where do they expand from here? I did have a chance to talk with some TAL folks, and they confirmed that there will be 2 additional teams coming into TAL for 2026. Probably hear about them over the next month and a half or so, with a big rollout of everything. But where do they go? Where do they expand from here? If you look at their map, the World of Football posted a league map, which was really great visual to see. If you look at the map, it's basically a straight line that follows I-35, the interstate, through the middle of the country. If you head west of I-35, you run into a very crowded marketplace with a bunch of teams that are currently in the National Arena League. So it becomes a little bit more competitive. Not impossible to be successful there, but there's already a lot of noise there with the Omaha Beef, with the Salina Liberty, with Southwest Kansas Storm. There's a lot of noise there. So do they go east? Do they go east into Tennessee, the Memphis area, the Chattanooga area, perhaps? Do they go into Mississippi? Do they go into a little bit further into Missouri? Do they go into Illinois? To me, it makes the most sense that they follow that I-35 and then they go east from there and start to build that out. That's what makes the most sense on paper if they're just expanding on what they already have and what has been successful for them of having all the teams and cities clustered close together. It makes sense for the next 2 expansions to be somewhat close to it as well. And where they go from here, beyond 2026, supposedly they're having conversations for expansion in 2027 already. So it seems like they're very forward thinking with how they want to grow and where they want this to go. They should be fine moving forward. Like I said, it stinks that they lost Duluth and they picked up and took their ball and played with another group, another league, I should say. But TAL has their own niche market within arena football. That 7-on-7 meets arena football feel, and they're providing a pro sports team for markets that are pretty underserved, if we're just being honest, like Ozarks, Springfield, Missouri. Not much there. St. Joseph, I truthfully don't know a lot going on in St. Joseph outside of the St. Joseph Goats. So you look at the teams that are currently in the TAL, they're serving underserved sports markets, and if they can continue to do that with their expansion moving forward, I think they'll be fine. The ecosystem of arena football ebbs and flows, and it's just the way she goes. It's just the way she goes. But yeah, I'm excited to see what two markets get announced for TAL moving forward. And like I said, they should be fine. Slow and steady has been their mantra since day one with expansion and growth. And as long as they stick to the plan and do what they, follow the rubric and follow the plan that has worked so far, they'll be okay. And lastly, we're going to talk about the National Arena League. They dropped their 2026 schedule this past week on the Inside the Walls podcast, where they did a deep dive into each individual team schedule and interviewed most of the coaches and owners from the teams. I think only one team wasn't on there. I think the Dallas Bulls were busy or something. I don't know. It's an orange flag to me if you're too busy for that show, but whatever. Hey, I haven't watched it in full yet, but I will be checking it out later this week. So let me know in the comments what your favorite matchup from the NAL schedule is. It seems like there are going to be some rivalries reignited and rivalries renewed, as they put on their socials, with Salina and Omaha, and of course Salina and Southwest Kansas. And it's going to be cool to see some of these matchups, and cool to see some of the expansion franchises mix it up with some of these legacy teams that have been around for 10 plus years, for 20 years in Omaha's instance. But National Arena League, it seems like they're growing in the right direction, and they've kind of molded themselves into being a more regional league, which is a great thing. It's not a bad thing. I think they're in a good spot, and if they can finish the year with the same number of teams, the same exact schedule, same everything as what they started and what they released this past week, that'd be a great success for them, and they'll be able to build on that moving forward. So, let me know what matchups you're looking forward to with the National Arena League. And that's the show. Thank you so much again to Destiny Brown for joining the program and talking through her journey. A lot of things and stuff in the indoor and arena football world the past week or so. So let me know in the comments what you think is going to be the biggest splash. Let me know what you think is going to happen. Let me know what markets you think TAL should go after, what markets AF1 should go after. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So leave it in the comments on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, do all that stuff. Check out some of the other content on the YouTube channel. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a review, 5 stars preferably, but hey, do your thing. And then in the comment of the review, let me know what markets you think the TAL or AF1 should expand to. Let's play a game. Let's see if anybody follows that prompt and anybody does that. But make sure you're also following us on socials at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball, Off the Wall FB. We're everywhere that you are. So make sure you give us a follow in there and join the conversation. Come say hi. Let me know your hottest takes. Let me know your predictions. Let me know where you think TAL or AF1 should go. There's no wrong answer. Well, there's a couple wrong answers, but for the sake of conversation, there's no wrong answers with this. So let me know what you think. But there's only 24 hours in a day. The fact they chose to spend like an hour 4, hour 5 here listening to the show, watching this show, listening to me chat with Destiny, listening to me talk through the Minnesota Monster situation. It means a lot. So thank you so much for taking the time to check out the show. Like I said, if it's your first time watching, if you've been here for the past couple episodes, if you've been here since day one, a couple of y'all, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I know most of y'all not, but some of you have been. So I appreciate that. But it's been really cool to see this thing grow, and we've got some merch announcements coming very, very soon, which I'm excited about as well. So take care. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on socials.